Hello and welcome to UI Chat from The Interface, the monthly show talking about everything Ubiquiti networking. I'm your host Alex, and as ever, I'm joined by Willie Howe. How you doing, Willie?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's good to have you back. We had Evan McCann on as a guest host last episode. That was good fun. It's good to have his insight on Ubiquiti, and I don't think many people have seen what he looks like, so it's it's a good one to have him on. So got plenty of news, and as we're recording today on the 7th of July, we've had two new releases. So we'll get into those first, actually. So the AI Pro was announced today. So again, bypassing all the EA store and going straight to public. This is the AI Professional. It's sort of a 4K version of the AI Bullet. So I'm happy they announced this because the G5 Pro and the G4 Pro don't have the license plate detection. And this is like a nice black design that sort of keeps it sort of stealth. So what do you think? Looks pretty good.
So I think it's fantastic that they're making advances, with their camera AI, and they're making all these changes, new models, and things like that. But the one thing that I wish that they wouldn't do is specifically say that it's got license plate tracking, right? Because any camera, given the software, can do license plate recognition in the daylight. And the difference is when the lights go out, the special IRs and things that you have to have on the camera to recognize those at night. And as far as I know, this will not work at night. I've asked the question and I haven't seen the answer yet. I know the other cameras will not do license plates at night. So it'll be interesting to see. I think if they're going to do LPR, and we've been asking for it for years, they should come out with a specific LPR camera.
Yeah.
And they could call, the LPR AI, and they'd sell 1 million of them.
Yeah, definitely. I've noticed with even the G4 Pro that the license plates, well, especially the ones here in the UK, are very reflective. You just get a white haze over the number plates. So
right.
I think that'll probably be the same based on the specs on it. But other than that, it looks good. It just looks like a G4 Pro with some extra bits on it. So we've got 4K sensor, 3 optical zoom. They've got license plate, people, and more. They've specifically said it's a far field microphone. That's the first time we've used that naming. Based on what I've seen, the G4 Pro microphone, the one I've got, the microphone on it is insane, really good quality. As I said, based on what I've seen with the G5 Pro, some people aren't quite as impressed with it. So the fact that they've called it a far field microphone is quite interesting. So we'll have to see what that's like. It's $500, similar sort of price in the UK. So
yeah, here's to seeing what it looks like. The whole microphone thing, especially here. I don't know what your laws are where you're at with recording audio, but here in the States, any place where you have an expectation of privacy, you can't do audio, video. There are some places where you have to have consent to capture audio. I mean, so for us, we usually just disable audio to be on the safe side. So it'll be interesting to see how it works and see if it ties into, their speaker and maybe the phone. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how the ecosystem comes together.
Yeah. I'm not. So where I live on like quite a reasonable sized farm, and we just record audio all the time. It's quite useful for different things. So, but I don't think we've got any law saying you can't record audio based on built-up areas. What I've seen from people's Ring doorbells, people just record audio anyway. So sure. I might be wrong. I don't think there's any specific laws on it. So, but yeah. The next item, this item was leaked on the new store recently. We've got a link in the show notes that there was a PDF that someone managed to get a hold of when the store was being redesigned. This is a G4 Doorbell Professional PoE. And this is what people have been asking for an extremely long time. So this is basically a G4 Doorbell Pro with a PoE port on the back. And also, what I really like is a PoE chime as well. So we've got a chime that's not Wi-Fi based that you can power with PoE. So I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to make a lot of new construction. People are running Cat 5e, Cat 6 everywhere. So I would rather have my doorbell be PoE than have, the separate wires and transformer and all that. And I think you'll see a lot of people retrofit. In fact, I mean, I'm with you. There were so many people that asked specifically for this PoE version that I'm really surprised it took them this long to churn it out.
Yeah, given Ubiquiti's roots and the fact that PoE is such a big part of their business. So it's awesome because I noticed when the people installing the original one, they were having trouble getting Wi-Fi out to the front of their house. It's not really an area that you cover that much. People have been installing separate APs for it just for the doorbell. And also from like a vulnerability point, you don't want security cameras on Wi-Fi, really, because if you could, it's just another weak point if you've got issues. So,
well, and the Ethernet is also a weak point if somebody wants to pull your doorbell off. But I mean, it's all about risk reward and that risk analysis, and I'm with you. You're going to have a better quality, better experience on the camera if it's hardwired. So I have one of the other Doorbell Pros that's not out of the package. I might see if I can sell that and pick up this new one.
That kit is on sale now in the US for $379. Similar sort of price in the UK, but it's, as I said, it's sold together, which is interesting. And at the moment, someone asked on Twitter if you can use more than one chime with it, and at the moment that's not the case. So you can use one chime. So,
hopefully they fix that.
Yeah, you can have a chime in each room, so everyone knows if you got someone at the door.
Right.
UNVR 3.1.9 was released on the 12th of June, and this brings stacking for the smaller UNVR. I haven't had a chance to use any of these features yet. So the stacking between the UNVR. So at the moment, up until this release, you can only stack 2 Pros together, and now you can stack 2 of the smaller ones together, but you cannot stack a small NVR and a big NVR. So
now, can you only do 2? I haven't had a chance to deploy this yet. I mean, we're heavy into another vendor, Protect, with all of its advances that it's made. We are starting to really utilize that again. But can you stack more than 2 devices together, or is it limited to 2?
From what I've read, it's only 2 at the moment. I can't remember where I read that information, but I think it is only 2 right now.
Well, once you can stack an entire rack, then things will really change.
Yeah. There were some updates recently to let you move cameras between the NVRs. So if you've got 2 stacked together, you can now move them between the NVRs, and you can tell which camera's on what NVR as well. So you can move them. So it's awesome. They're really starting to bring a lot more features to things that people are asking for. It's a good sign.
Well, and besides just being able to manage all of your cameras in one place, now think about some place where security cameras are critical and they need high availability. I mean, if you can move cameras, I'm sure that if you have one NVR die, it's going to be easy to just move the cameras to the other one, and there might even be a setting in there. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to look at it.
Yeah, so sort of move them over if one goes off. Yeah. Some more news for more local to me. UniFi Talk is coming to the UK in Q3 2023. And we're actually in Q3 already, so 1st of July. So hopefully at some point in the next few months, we're going to see UniFi Talk come to the UK, which is awesome.
Q3 might mean the end of Q3.
Yeah, I know.
Beginning of Q4. You know how that goes.
I know.
But are you excited about it, or do you know anybody who's using it? I mean, we've got a few customers that, we don't have anything. We don't support anything over 5 phones on it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, for a small office that doesn't need a lot of features, it works okay.
I don't know anyone that's using it apart from Cody. He's using it with a lot of businesses in Canada. But, for example, my parents' business, we moved them off normal standard phone line to VoIP last year, the year before. And I was waiting for this to come out, and I just thought, we'll just use something else. So as soon as this comes out, I'll definitely be switching them over to this because it'll be a lot easier to manage. The biggest thing for me is the call recording. So with the current cloud provider they've got, they charge you for cloud recording or call recording, for example. This, if you've just got a cloud key at home or in the office, you can just record it to the hard drive for free. So much better.
And if you pay for, if you don't use a third-party SIP provider, if you port your numbers over and you're paying the per-line fee, you actually get a call transcription, right? So it'll take your voicemails. You get voicemail transcription, so it'll take it and turn it into text and send it to you.
Yeah, pretty good. As well as the UK, it's coming to Germany in Q4 2023. So that's any time from September till December, I think. So at the moment, they've listed the unlocked and locked versions of the phones with the prices as well. And then the UniFi Talk ATA is also listed. So pretty good.
So I don't know if you know anybody that uses the paid version of UID,
Hmm.
but UID, that paid version, they have their own support department and
Yep,
a
they do.
support number. And I'm wondering if so, because for us, voice is such a critical component, right? You need to be able to get support when there's an issue. I have to wonder if they're going to fold talk into UID and be able to provide, you know, support in a more real time fashion.
I think what might happen is that, so I've used UID at my old place of work, and we paid for it, and I phoned up support once or twice. Really cool. They're really fast to get back to you. I'd imagine what they'll do is like small businesses and homes, they'll have UniFi Talk, and then, like you said, for businesses, the big ones, they'll have UniFi Talk and UniFi ID as part of that support stuff. I reckon they'll have to, if they want to move it into the big leagues.
Right.
Yeah, I think so. Looking forward to that. More camera news. We've got the G5 Pro. This is part of Ubiquiti's sort of replacement of the G4 line, or the sort of revampness of the G5 line, a G4 line. So the G5 Pro is essentially a G4 Pro with some extra. Well, it's just less expensive. And the G5 Pro line, so the G5 line has extra. It's got better night vision, basically improved night vision.
Yeah, I think that this accessory that they have is pretty interesting.
Oh yeah,
where we went from like this IR extender ring, which we used a ton of the IR extender rings when they first came out.
Yeah,
and they were decent. But this thing, I think it's got like a floodlight or something on it, doesn't it? Like,
yeah. So it's called the G5 Professional Vision Enhancer. It's about £100, $100. And it plugs into the back of the G5 Pro with a USB-C port. But it's got a 600 lumen floodlight, which is just insane.
How bright is 600 lumens? I don't have a reference for that.
600 lumens is actually, I know what a good test is. If we look at the floodlight, the smart floodlight, and I've got one of those. I don't know if you've used them before. And we look at what brightness that has. That'll give us some reference. I'd imagine it's probably the same. That's 550 lumens, so it's a little bit brighter than the floodlight device itself. So
you think this will be a positive add-on for the camera then?
Yeah, it's got more infrared emitters inside it as well, so you get even better night vision. And there were some screenshots. It's basically just color night vision. I think I follow someone on Twitter who's already installed one, and he posted a video of the color night vision, and it looked pretty good.
Yeah, color night vision's all the rage. I think Hike Vision kind of started that, and then I saw Wise cameras have it, and if Ubiquiti's bringing it, that'll put them in a different class, because there used to be cameras that had that were really expensive.
Yeah.
But
what's quite funny is last episode, so the episode before last, we were talking about color night vision, I think, and you said, "Oh, that's the one thing that Ubiquiti's missing," and then look what they've done. They've announced it. Basically.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I'll have to see if I can get my hands on one of these.
Mm-hmm.
It is definitely interesting, the direction that they're going, especially when you look at the cameras before they killed the EA store. What was it? They've got a big camera that you can put basically professional lenses on.
The DSLR,
yeah. So, it's one of those things, like, do you think that camera, like, they had a high-end customer that was like, we need a really awesome camera, and they're like, okay, and they just did it for that customer, and now they're selling it to everybody. It'll definitely be, because I know companies, especially companies that operate like Ubiquiti, they'll do that, right? They'll have a customer that's what we would consider a large enterprise, and they want features, and so they crank them out. But it'll be interesting to see how that line kind of evolves, because as I'm looking at the cameras, right, you seem to have, like, you've got the G5, the G4, and I'm looking. They still do sell the G3 Flex, right? So they're still supporting those G3s.
Yep.
But then you seem to have, like, the AI line, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like you've got the G line and the AI line. And so it'll be interesting to see what kind of the next development with this is. I mean, they've got, the sensors, they've got the floodlights. I mean, they really are building a complete solution.
Yeah. And the PTZ and the AI theta or theta. So.
Yeah. I think the sensors and being able to tie this all in. I haven't deployed any of the sensors yet, but I've got a use case for a couple of them. So, and I don't know. Do you know? Does it do water detection?
It does now. Yeah, I've got one of them, and the water flood. Like, what's it called? What do they call it? If you've got a flood in the house or the business, it's like that wasn't a feature until very recently. Yeah, there's like a case you put the device in, and I guess it'll float if there is water. Oh. I'm not really sure, but you can only get that as part of the 3-pack. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So if you pull up the 3-pack,
and it's only on sale in the US. In the UK, they haven't got it.
So I'm on the store, and when you click 3-pack, it doesn't bring up anything about that case. Oh, water. Okay, so under additional gear,
yep,
it says water sensor adapter only available in 3-pack. So they must just ship it and have like a little diagram or whatever, to.
Well, if you go into the installation, if you go to the installation guide and scroll down to the bottom, the very bottom,
that's where I'm at.
I think I did see it actually. It's very blurry. They must have removed it. That's really weird.
Yeah, so
like a little case that it went in, basically. That's so bizarre.
I don't know. Yeah, it's not there. All it has is like the corner mounting brackets, and interesting. Well, if you're listening to this and you're interested, go to the store and check out the Protect all-in-one sensor.
After the break, we've got an interview with John Linford, who's a professional Ubiquiti installer, and I sat down to have a short chat about what he does and how he uses Ubiquiti hardware. UI Chat is proudly recorded using Squadcast. Squadcast provides an easy and robust way to record video and audio podcasts. Use our referral link to help support this as well as future episodes. UI Chat is also proud to be hosted with Castos. Castos provides an easy way to host podcasts and distribute them to all the top platforms, including YouTube. Use our referral link to help support this as well as future episodes. We've got a very special segment for the UI Chat podcast now. I'm joined by John Linford, who is his day-to-day job is installing networking hardware, and specifically, well, most of the time, Ubiquiti networks. So hi, John. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well. Thank you, Alex. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for joining me.
Pleasure.
So, yeah, just to give some background on what you do. So I came across you on LinkedIn fairly recent, 6 months ago maybe.
Yeah.
And I noticed you do a lot of really, really cool installs in large houses and different things, primarily using Ubiquiti equipment. So obviously it's a Ubiquiti podcast. So what's that? What's the sort of story there?
Yeah, so just found myself, I found a bit of a niche really for installing, as you say, Wi-Fi solutions, generally UniFi in very, in kind of medium to large residential properties really. So I just found there was a bit of a hole there. So obviously people in large houses, the sole kind of router, the sole access point that the internet service provider provides you with just doesn't kind of cut it really. So
no.
There was a bit of a niche there, and I just and these people needed kind of that Wi-Fi spreading far and wide really, and there wasn't a better product out there than Ubiquiti. I just think it's got everything really. It's been described as prosumer, sorry, hasn't it? So
prosumer, yeah.
So it's obviously got more than more features than you could ever wish for, certainly in the residential environment. But it's also, just priced very, very well as well. So it's just priced at a point where you just don't cringe when you put in a quote really for these people. But no, it just works really, really well. And with my background, so I used to work for BT back in the day, and
right.
So that was where I kind of started out in telecoms, and I was forever kind of cabling in people's houses. So, and when you're doing that, that kind of cabling day in, day out, you just become very good at it really, and you just learn tips and tricks to hide that cabling. So, so we physically cable our data points. Not our data points, but our Wi-Fi access points, and then just the the customers are generally blown away by the performance. So they've either typically only got one router in the corner of the the downstairs living room or something like that, or they're struggling with like a service provider provided mesh solution. So the BT whole home,
right,
the disk, or the Sky solution that they give you these series of nodes, the mesh solutions, and they wirelessly kind of talk to each other. And obviously, as they communicate with one another, there's an increase in latency and a degradation in performance. So obviously, with all of our access points being physically cabled, it just means it doesn't matter which one you're connected to or underneath, you're going to get a gigabit backhaul and super fast speeds. And what I kind of call on my socials wall-to-wall Wi-Fi really. So that's
I love
what
that.
we do. But yeah, so the products that we used to install loads of AC lights. We can't get the AC lights very easily now. They've not been in stock for a good while. But obviously we typically go for the AX lights now. Almost standard really, Wi-Fi 6. And in a residential environment, we kind of install lots of those just because of how they're priced. Really, I think it's about £100, isn't it? Just about for a Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Access point. And the other favourites are the in-wall access points as well. So, I just think they're great because obviously they're, if you're kind of cabling externally, particularly on the ground floor, it's very hard to get an access point on the ceiling. So we can kind of make entry from the outside and install an in-wall access point on the wall. And and the great thing about those is obviously they broadcast fantastic Wi-Fi, but you've also got that Ethernet connectivity underneath as well. So even with with a PoE port as well, if they're kind of got like a VoIP phone or anything like that, so or a camera, anything like that. So they're kind of the two products that we lean towards really. Then we kind of host all of our Wi-Fi solutions and all of our sites on a cloud controller, and it just enables me to offer great customer service. Then if they need a password change or if they've forgotten their password or if we need to do firmware updates, then I can do that remotely without having to visit site. So so got a couple of cloud controllers. So don't know whether I'm proud to say or ashamed to say, but one of them is on a Raspberry Pi. So booting off an external drive, and it's been absolutely solid. And I run that at home and got like a static IP address at home, and that's been absolutely bulletproof. I'm just very kind of religious in backing up regularly, and
definitely.
And I've got another one on a VM with Linode as well. So kind of two controllers and
fair enough. Sounds good. How long have you guys been doing that for?
So a bit of a long journey really I've had. So I started out with BT back. Well, I'm 40 years old now. Started out with BT back when I was as an apprentice, and I was really fortunate to have done a proper modern apprenticeship, and then worked with BT for several years after my apprenticeship, and then moved on to do other things. But there was then kind of moonlighting on the side of another career doing telecoms. And then we've been doing this full time now for 10 plus years, just over 10 plus years, really.
Oh wow, that's impressive.
So it started out data cabling, but as well as the Wi-Fi data cabling, we do a bit of security and just all things telecoms, really, a bit of VoIP. Anything IP and networks, really. So
I've seen you guys using Starlink as well, aren't you? For farms?
Yeah, so I've installed 5 or 6 Starlink solutions now. So it's been an absolute game changer for some of my rural clients. I absolutely love Starlink. It's just mind blowing, really. I just love getting my hands on it. But there are a few things I don't like about Starlink, and then obviously there are a few things that I absolutely love. And the thing that I absolutely love is the performance. It's just brilliant. So I've kind of had rural clients that have not been able to achieve anything more than 5 meg download speeds. When you install this solution, and they're kind of getting 150 plus, it's just game changing for those clients, really. Can we talk about what I don't like?
That's fine.
About the Starlink. So I think it's quite Apple-esque in its design, really. So I don't like the proprietary leads. I don't like the proprietary cable that goes between the dish and the router. With the manufactured ends, so it's a predetermined length. I think it's 40 or 50 meters. I can't remember exactly.
I think so, yeah.
But I don't like the color. Obviously, it's grey. It's very hard to hide externally. and then you've got the pre-terminated ends on that cable. So if you're doing a professional install and you want to put it on a pole bracket and then cable obviously into the house, then you need to drill, I think it was like a 25 mil hole through from the outside or from the inside out, and to pass that connector through. So it just frustrates me why they couldn't use an industry standard like Cat 5e, Cat 6, and it would make the installs just far neater, really.
Well, the beta. Do you remember the beta one? That actually had a PoE injector.
Yes.
So actually, you could actually unplug it, and if you wanted to, you could probably. I think people actually cut the cable open and terminated it themselves. So
yeah. But so you just can't do that anymore, unfortunately. So it's just a little bit frustrating. And then obviously I think it's a bit tight, really, not getting Ethernet connectivity as standard. So you get caught out with little things like the router is solely Wi-Fi. So you need to. So you need the Ethernet adapter to be able to connect it to a switch, or if you want any Ethernet connectivity at all. And also you can't, it's very difficult. You can't, so when I couple the Starlink solution with a UniFi solution, I often put the Starlink router into a pass-through mode, because what you can't do is
bypass mode.
Or you couldn't, certainly when I last played with it, you can't turn off the Wi-Fi on the router. So what happens then is it's kind of like a rogue access point on the controller. So it'd just be really nice if you could turn off the Wi-Fi, just allow the Starlink to do the routing, and then allow your UniFi gear that you've professionally installed to do the Wi-Fi side of things, really. So but without a doubt, it's just absolutely fantastic. It's been game changing, but those are just a couple of things that I don't quite like about the Starlink, really. But beggars can't be choosers.
I managed to pick one up for they did like an offer. I don't know if you benefited from that temporarily. They did like a £99 offer, didn't they?
They did, recently. In fact, I posted about it on the socials because I thought that was an absolute bargain. So they reduced the hardware costs, didn't they, from around £500 to £100 or dollars it may be.
That's it. Yep.
But I believe really for what you're getting, I think the value for money is incredible, really.
It's very good.
Yeah, I really do. But I've got a whole site actually. Almost there's it's a rural site, and there are 3 businesses on the site. It's really far away from the telephone exchange, and there's no fibre there. So I kind of back a while ago, I kind of installed some MikroTik 4G solutions.
Right. Okay.
And that was performing much better than fixed line broadband.
Yep.
But then they have since all upgraded to the Starlink. So I've got one particular site, and there's kind of as you go in, you can see the 3 Starlink solutions there. So, but I'm not sure if have you seen they've got 2 services now, haven't they? It's like a residential and a business, or a premium and a standard.
That's right. Yeah, they have. I've
not dealt with the business one and the faster speeds. I don't know if you've had any.
I've not. No, I've watched some videos on it. It's just a larger dish to get more gain from the antenna.
Yeah.
I'd imagine it can pick up a better signal that way. There's also one you can use while you're moving as well. So it hasn't got a mounting bracket. You drill it to the top of a van or an RV, and you can use it while in motion. I'm not sure that's available here, but yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. But I do like that pack. So I wasn't aware of that particular dish, but I do like the RV package that they do. I watched that actually on Crosstalk Solutions recently, but they do a port, which is another one of my favourite channels. But it's a pausable service, isn't it? So it's I think that's fantastic as well. Certainly for there are businesses. I've got a friend actually kind of records motocross and goes all over the world, and I just think that would be a fantastic solution for him. To be able to kind of pause the service when it's not in use, and obviously throw it up when he needs to. And I just think it's just game changing. Really, there's you can almost you can just get an internet connection anywhere. And,
you can.
I might be doing a local fete soon and helping them out with the broadband. And I've got an IT.
That's a good way.
Yeah. So an IT company that I work closely with, Orbit's IT, actually in Halesoe, and they've got like a Starlink solution that's available to them for kind of emergency deployments, I suppose.
Yeah, that's good. That is.
If broadband goes down or whatever. So it's a really really capable service. So I love it.
Yeah, what kind of equipment do you use in the sort of the AirMax space? I gather point to points and
so we do lots of we seem to do loads of point to point solutions and point to multi-point solutions for people who've got offices and or office space at the bottom of the garden, or we did one recently for a scrapyard in Birmingham, and they had the main the main site on one side of the road, and they wanted to be in the internet across and have an internet connection at a weighbridge on the other side of the road. So
definitely.
we use the Ubiquiti, the nano stations generally, coupled with the air cubes, and I just think it's an absolutely fantastic solution. Just bang for buck. And the nano stations, they're £40 a piece. I think they're thereabouts, and the
all right.
Yeah, coupled on the remote end, if you couple those with the air cube, I mean, it's fantastic value. I think it's like a £60 or £70 access point. But it also gives you 3 Ethernet ports, which is fantastic. But it's also got 24 volts out, which will power the remote antenna as well. So you only need one AC outlet, and it's just powering the whole remote system. So your nano station and the air cube. So install loads of those, and just purely because they come in at a great price point, really. But those are the ones that nano beams and nano stations. They're the ones we use.
Awesome, yeah. I've used a lot of. So I used to work at a WISP before what I do now.
Interesting.
So we use a lot of 60 gigahertz devices.
Oh, amazing.
So I've got my internet connection at home. I've still got a WISP connection in that I built myself, and we've actually got the Gigabeam 60s.
Brilliant.
So they're really good actually. They're a very good price point as well. Yeah, and do you do any work with the UniFi Protect stuff?
I don't actually. No, it's something that I'd like to get involved in. But no, we do a lot of IP-based security. But I heard you talking about it last week actually on your episode about Hikvision, Hikvision. Yeah. So do a bit of Hikvision and Dahua, I think you're supposed to say it. But
I have no idea.
but no, not. But I'd love to play with some of the UniFi. But I don't know if it feels like it's that. Adidas watch kind of analogy for me, really. It's in the sense that I wouldn't buy an Adidas watch. Adidas don't make watches; they make trainers. Is my kind of theory. So I see UniFi very much networking, but how good and how reputable are they in the security space, basically? So I'm not. But I'd like to give it a try. I'd like to work with it, but at the moment, just sticking to what I know, really, because I know that if I install a CCTV solution, I'm going to potentially need to get it monitored, and I just don't know whether some of the monitoring companies will work with the. I'm sure they would.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Whereas I know, obviously, in that monitoring scene, it's generally Hikvision and Dower and a few of the other bigger brands. There, you kind of They're
I didn't think of that. Space. I didn't think of that scenario actually. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's just yet to be seen, but I would like to have a play. That being said, so some of the cameras look really nice, and obviously the great thing about UniFi across all of their brand is it just looks so sleek. So when there was that period of time when it was very difficult to get UniFi stock for some residential installs and small business Wi-Fi installs, we were using TP-Link Omada. And as good as TP-Link Omada is, it just doesn't look as sleek and as nice. And certainly the ceiling mounted access points, the TP-Link Omada, they performed well, but they just didn't have the same kind of quality feel and quality look that the UniFi.
I've got you.
And
with the.
No, I was just going to say the cameras just look absolutely fantastic, and
they are. Yeah,
really, really nice.
So I've been using cameras. I think I've got 12 of them, and I've only had 2 die the last 7 years.
Oh, that's not bad.
And they've been outside 24/7.
Yeah,
so they're very good. They've got a lot of features now. I mean, the UNVR, you can stack them and get more capacity.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah,
you've got license plate detection. You've got that PTZ camera they've got can actually track people now. I'm not entirely sure how it works, but
amazing. And do they have they got all of the AI that the Hikvision and the Dower have got? And
so you've got people tracking, vehicle tracking. There's like smoke detection.
Oh wow!
Like it can tell you if it detects a smoke alarm going off. Yeah. And apparently there's pet detection is coming soon.
That's really interesting. And one thing I do like about the Hick or the Hike, I know people say it in two different ways, and the Dahua is what I really like about their cameras is they're doing the full colour at night cameras. I'm not sure if UniFi do the UniFi do that.
So,
no. So
no,
they
I
do
didn't realise
that.
That was a thing.
Yeah. So in that space, they do that now by rather than shining an infrared light, they shine a white light.
Right.
And obviously it illuminates the scene, and obviously it gives you a colour image rather than a grayscale image, which is amazing really for just gives you an extra depth to evidence really. I might be there in an orange top, whereas in an IR field of view I'd just be some kind of shade of grey. But the Dahua cameras, they've got two lights built in actually, so that come dusk they'll go from like full colour daytime image to infrared grayscale, and then if
Yep.
it detects anybody in the field of view, then they'll flip from infrared to white light to give you that
Right.
image. But and they also record sound. So I'll have to have a look at the spec sheets of that, or unless you're able to do perhaps another episode on this, Alex, where tell us about if any of those features are available. But if those features were available at the right price point, I'd definitely consider installing.
Yeah,
installing those.
That sounds impressive, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly with some of the clients that have already got the almost like the UniFi infrastructure or Ubiquiti infrastructure. They might go for that, and it might make sense. Fantastic to talk to you. It's delighted
thank you
on the show. I'll enjoy listening to this episode back and your future episodes.
What a great interview. It was great to talk to John about what he does. Now, let's get back to the Ubiquiti news. Well, we'll gloss over UniFi Talk went live in Canada officially end of June. It's been in beta for a while. So as of 20th of June, it went live. And that doesn't support number porting just yet, but pretty much. There we go.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see the long-term viability of this, especially as they keep rolling it out. I don't want it to fail.
No.
There's a lot of naysayers out there. You see the comments, about products coming and going and stuff. And I do want to see it be something that we can offer long term. But I think support is going to be, play a crucial role in that.
Just jumping back to Protect a little bit. So the next item, this was UniFi Protect 2.8.28. And this brought a much requested feature again. So big trend this time is the much requested features are coming to UniFi Protect. G4 PTZ has now got people tracking. So you can, based on the footage I've seen, you can select an item or select a person. It will track that person until it goes out of view. So pretty good that's a feature now.
Yeah, and typically that was something too that wasn't available until you were on higher end cameras. Dahua, Hikvision, Axis. You had to buy the licenses and stuff to do that auto tracking. So they to their credit, how many years are we into Protect now? 4 years into Protect, 5 years, something like
2018,
that.
2018, I think. Yeah. So 5 years.
And still doing new features, still forging forward. I mean, they are playing catch up a little bit, but I think they're designing these cameras and everything from the ground up. So it's not like they're piggybacking off of somebody else's design. So the next thing that I'm wondering if they're going to do, because you can kind of already do this with Synology and Axis and Hikvision and Dahua, kind of mix the ecosystem together. But you could do the cameras, with the AI cameras, or even the PTZ, feed it in, do some facial recognition if you have people's permission, of course, and do things like unlock doors, with access or UID, or allow people into certain areas and things like that. I mean, what's next? A thermal camera, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I personally would love to see them come out with a thermal camera, because if they could do it at their price point, that and the license, the LPR, I don't know what else they need. And they could really be poised to take over a huge segment of the market.
Yeah, definitely. This release also did global recording settings, so you no longer got to go into each camera and say, I want the logo off, I want the name on, I want the cameras to record all the time. You can now do it globally, especially if you've got big deployments. That's going to be an admin task that's removed, which is good.
And I also have to wonder too, I think it was when it was still UniFi Video. For some reason, I think I remember a thread where you could upload your own logo for the camera. Maybe that was a hacky community thing, but I would like to see that come to the cameras where you could put your company logo in there.
That'd be quite good. And then we've also got, we touched on it earlier, and then since we last recorded, or since the last episode of this podcast, Ubiquiti has now stopped the EA program. We're going to have a bit of discussion about this. So 13th of June, that was the day it was announced. Ubiquiti, earlier to that, prior to that day, the EA store had been removed. And for reference, this is the end of the EA hardware program, not the software program. They've come out and said the software is a really important part of the business. The fact that people are testing software, but the program for hardware they've now stopped. So yeah, it's just I just want to get your opinion on that because it's a massive change to how the company runs.
Well, I know I've heard some other creators be like really upset about this, and we don't have a public roadmap of where they're going, what they're releasing. Everything is pure speculation unless you know somebody inside, and most of the time they're not talking. But if I wanted to change my perception of products coming and then leaving, right? If I wanted to kind of clean up that public image, this is the kind of move that I would make. Get rid of that EA program where a lot of products have died.
Yeah.
And just not have that be visible. I think, they'll still be the old timers complaining about it in 2 years, but people that are new to the ecosystem, they're never going to have experienced it. So they're going to have an entirely new outlook on Ubiquiti and the products and things like that. I don't necessarily think this is a bad move. I'm not upset about it.
No, they definitely really shouldn't be testing in public. Really,
The biggest thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, one of the examples I've got is the UniFi Talk speaker. It looked like a UAP, but was a speaker. That disappeared. I guess we can talk about it. It's fine. Yeah, that sort of just appeared and didn't go anywhere. I've got one called the UISP LTE. It's like a light beam on steroids that does 4G, and that just disappeared. I'm still using it, but it's pretty good.
Well, and if you go online, you'll see people trying to find folks that bought those in the EA store, and they're paying big bucks for them because they started building networks around them, and they don't want to replace the entire infrastructure. So, I still use what the heck was the name of that? Their power over their Ethernet over power line. Yeah, EtherMagic. I still use that.
Yep.
And I get, all the way out in the garage, I still get 50 megabits, almost symmetrical, which is more than enough for a garage.
Yep.
So, and there's a few other EA things, that didn't make it out that are still floating around. And it's interesting too, if you go to eBay and you search for Ubiquiti early access, you can see some of the stuff and a lot of the hoarders or the scalpers were selling out there. One time I had somebody from South America email me and needed some support on a product.
Mm-hmm.
And they were telling me what it was, and I just could not imagine what this. I said, "Can you send me some pictures of this?" And they had bought it on eBay.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be a USG, but it looked like an Edge Router 8, but was silver, said UniFi on it. And you couldn't open the I mean, it had like USG software loaded on it, right? So here's something that made it to EA, that was never supposed to be released to the public, then ended up on eBay. This guy bought it, couldn't get it to adopt, couldn't get it to work. So he emailed me, and I was like, I'd never seen it. So I emailed my contact at Ubiquiti. I was like, hey, this thing's floating around. They took the guy's contact information. I don't know if they bought it from him to get it out of the, the ecosystem or what. But you see all kinds of weird, strange things pop up like that.
Huh. Yeah, the way you described it, I just wondered if it was the USG XG, but it obviously sounds like something different.
So I have the pictures. I'm not going to publicly share them, but it looks exactly like the Edge Router 8, but it's silver and, says USG on it, and very clearly some sort of an early prototype that never made it to market. Yeah.
Weird. Yeah. Definitely. As I said, it's not great to be testing in public, and it as you said, it definitely removes definitely tarnishes their image a little bit. I mean, imagine if Apple started testing stuff in public, it just wouldn't happen. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, and it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. They haven't given any details that I know of about what's going to replace that program, but if there's any chance that folks like you and I could get signed up for something where we could get that early access.
Yep.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already not supposed to talk about things that are EA, according to the guidelines.
Yep.
And part of me has to wonder, was the decision to remove that because so many people talked about it and, to clean up that image? I don't think we'll ever know because I don't think they're going to tell us.
No. So as a quote from Ubiquiti said, since external feedback for upcoming products is still an important part of our development process, we will be re-evaluating our approach to pre-release hardware evaluations in order to better align with our quality goals and create improved collaboration between UI and our community. This program we've been out so late to date. So that to me sounds like something will come at some point. So,
Right.
But yeah, as we mentioned, the software for EA is still staying around. You still have to sign up for the EA program for that. So awesome. That's all the news we've got. What interesting videos have you released recently that you want to plug?
Oh, let me take a look here. Yesterday's video was how to clone your MAC address on a UniFi OS console. So if your ISP is into, locking you into, your plan via MAC address, and you don't want to call them, you can just clone the MAC address. The other video that I did was a call recording law. So no matter whose PBX you're using, whether it's UniFi Talk or another brand, if you are using call recording, no matter where you're at, make sure you understand the laws in your local jurisdiction.
Yep.
You don't want to run into any problems there. Let's see. Well, we talked about how to rename your UniFi OS console. And really that video was I have access to a few hundred consoles and servers.
Yeah.
And a lot of times folks might just take them out of the box, plug them in, and so they're called, Cloud Key Gen 2 or UDM Pro. And so, whether I'm looking for it or somebody else, it's good to just to have the name as personalized, and we recommend that no matter, who the vendor is.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, the last quick video that I do think people should definitely watch is the UniFi 7.4 switch port profiles video.
Yes, definitely.
They did change the visual aspect of how it works, right? So everything under the hood is still working the same, but to configure it works a little differently, looks a little differently. Things are named in a way that you might think they work or don't work. And so there's been a lot of confusion around that. And once you take a step back and kind of watch that video and watch how it works, it becomes a little bit clearer. Just know that by default, every port is still a trunk port.
Yep.
So they didn't change that.
No.
They really didn't change the way that it works. They just changed the kind of the UI about how you go about thinking about it.
Yeah, that confused me the first time I saw it. So it's a helpful video to watch to get the gist of it. So definitely. Yeah, and then Willie's videos, those videos he mentioned will be linked in the show notes, and then you can check out Willie's channel at youtube.com/@Willie Howe. Some very helpful videos there. So a good month for news. Thanks for joining me again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so as always, you can find this podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and more. For a full description of this show, visit the episode link in the show notes. And of course, check out the chapters, complete with images, to make your listening experience much more enjoyable. There's an ad-free version of this show available on Apple Podcasts that will help support this episode and future episodes from the interface. Thanks for joining me, Willie, and it's been a good episode, and we'll see you again next time.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Cheers.